So with the two largest Korean companies by market cap, Samsung Electronics and SK hynix shares hitting record highs, the country's benchmark KOSPI index surged past 4,500 points this week. For more on this, we're joined today by Professor Shin Se Don, professor at the Division of Business Economics at Sookmyung Women's University. Professor Shin, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So the KOSPI at 5,000 points was something President Lee Jae-myung had promised to achieve during his presidential campaign, and some analysts say this could actually be achieved much sooner than expected, possibly as early as this month, especially with Samsung posting record profits this morning. What's your take on this and Samsung's latest announcement?
One word, I should say amazing. KOSPI has been around 2,000 for more than a decade, from 2010 to 2020, and everybody believed that KOSPI cannot go over 3,000, but now it's almost 4,600 today, and it's about less than 10% away from 5,000. So I don't know if it could go up to 5,000 this month, but it is pretty sure that we're going to get to 5,000 throughout within 2026. The point is whether 5,000 KOSPI could stay and go up above 5,000. That I think is the most crucial thing, and that depends upon many other things. But mostly, I think record-breaking level of achievements by Samsung and hynix that could contribute to making KOSPI 5,000. And also, Korea have to have a solid economic growth and sound export performances. So we have to see whether the KOSPI could maintain 5,000 throughout 2026.
I see. And more broadly, gold prices are inching closer to a record peak, especially amid global uncertainties following the arrest of Venezuela's president. What's your outlook for gold prices throughout this year? And are there any broader economic impacts that the Venezuela situation could have on the global economy?
Well, on gold price, if you look at the data, the price of gold has been rising from early 2024. And 2024 is the time when people are thinking about the global inflation and possibly the U.S. rate hike. So as long as global inflation lingers on, I think the gold price will go up from 4,400 right now, possibly to 4,500 and even to 5,000 within this year. And that's for sure. So gold price will go up as long as there is inflation. On Venezuela situation, we are pretty surprised that the global, oil market, global stock market has not been pretty much affected by Venezuelan kind of abduction by U.S. president. The problem is, new problem is emerging right now. That is the issue of Greenland, which United States is interested in annexing the Greenland. And so in the future, I think the global problem is around the Greenland problem rather than Venezuelan problem. So on the Venezuelan situation, I think it would not have a significant economic or financial impact upon the global markets.
I see. And the government has been making efforts to tackle the weakening Korean won, and South Korea's foreign exchange reserves actually fell sharply in December, and this actually marked the largest monthly decline since the country's foreign exchange crisis in 1997. Is this something to be concerned about? And would you say the exchange rate situation is now under control, or will the rate keep rising throughout this year?
Yeah, it was really true that, month of, I think, December, the amount of decline in the Korean Bank of Korea reserve down by about a little less than $3 billion. And that is the biggest, monthly change for the last 40 years. So it is pretty shocking that the greatest amount of reserve has been declined within a month. But the amount of $3 billion is less than 1% of BOK external reserve, which is about $400 billion. So That is the record level of decline in the foreign reserve, but the actual amount is less than 1%. So it's not pretty much significant. Future course of Korean won depends upon United States, the interest rate and the Bank of Korea rate. And of course, it depends upon the Bank of Japan rate, which is expected to be raised from 0.75 to possibly 1.0% or possibly 1.25 within 2026. So I think we have to look at, the key movements in the interest rates. But I think that Bank of Japan will raise the rate at least 50 basis points to 2026. And then the yen would appreciate. And if yen appreciate, I think Korean currency will go down throughout 2026. So I'm expecting that the exchange rate, Korean won, would go down from 1,440 right now, possibly to 1,400, or even lower than 1,400 down the road.
I see. I guess we'll have to see how that goes. And speaking of interest rates, next week the Korean authorities will hold their first rate policy meeting of the year. Do you expect them to decide on a rate cut?
No. Bank of Korea has no room to maneuver the rate to lower from 2.5% because first, Korean rate 2.5% is a lot lower than United States, which has been pretty rare thing because always Korean rate has been higher than United States. So Bank of Korea has no room to lower the rate because of current situation of exchange rate on the one hand and potential rise in the housing prices. So I think there's no chance, no probability of the Bank of Korea to lower the rate this time, and even throughout 2026. Bank of Korea has very little room to, maneuver the rate to 2.5 or lower than that. I think possibly the Bank of Korea would have raised the rate from 2.5% to possibly 2.75 or even 3% if exchange rate, keep rising from 1,440 at the moment.
I see. I guess we'll have to see how that plays out next week. All right, Professor Shin, thank you so much for your insight this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.